Hi, everyone. Andrea could not join us this morning. She is tackling an impressive issue with Orange County government, and we thank you for her dedication to that. So I'm going to step in here, and I have the wonderful pleasure of being joined today by two distinguished leaders within the Orlando technology ecosystem who've teamed up and are leveraging new technology that is revolutionizing really the health and safety of our coaches, basketball personnel, and our players. So Terry, Jeff, thank you so much for being here today.
Hello.
Hello.
One of my favorite parts about this story is that I think a lot of people are going to assume that this partnership really formed out of COVID, but that's not actually the case. You guys started working together to combat the flu before COVID was ever on our radar. Jeff, can you tell us how that story got started?
Yeah. So we did. This project began about a year and a half ago. And, in our world, obviously, competitiveness, we want to be as competitive as we can on the floor. So teams, the Magic no exception, are spending significant monies on trying to ensure that our players have optimal performance. And along with that comes maintaining their health. So about a year and a half, maybe a little bit further back, we had a project in our innovation lab to look at how we could protect the players from pathogens, the flu and other pathogens. And so we launched this project, and Jack Elkins at the time that was leading the lab did a bunch of research into the local economy to see what was available to us. We knew if we stayed within sports, we would see and only find what everyone else in sports was doing. So we looked outside of that and found Violet Defense. The first test we did actually was on one of the charter planes that the players would be using. So we got permission from the NBA and from Delta to do a test with Violet Defense. So they swabbed the plane before, ran the Violet Defense units within the plane for 15 minutes, and then re-swabbed. And the takeaways from that were pretty outstanding to us, to see what pathogens are on the plane that could infect our players and how effective the Violet Defense units were in doing that. So from there, it led to us equipping our spaces for our players, our coaches, the locker room, the weight room, the training room, the showers, everything with the Violet Defense units.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Terry, let's turn to you. What did it mean for Violet Defense to land a contract with an organization like the Orlando Magic? And are there any areas of critical discovery that really helped you mature your work?
It's a great question. So I actually have never really thought about it as a contract with the Magic. What we were looking to do, going back to the very beginning of the conversations with Jack, is we wanted a partnership. As an early stage company, one of the most important things for us is to try to find fit with our target customers. And so given the Magic were very forward thinking in what they were doing, our goal was to figure out how to work with them to create a solution. And so, the economics were very, probably tertiary to us. What was most important was gaining some credibility from an organization that did a lot of due diligence before they decided to do something. And then the insight that we gained from trying to put our products in all of these different locations has actually helped us to expand our product set pretty dramatically. So we created some very unique solutions. One is a tripod solution that was directly a result of doing some testing on the plane. We have some unique wall mounts now that were related to the weight room. We have a cantilever mount solution that we used in the locker rooms to be able to hide our units in the ceiling and avoid affecting the aesthetics. We've actually now perfected a white powder coating solution specifically because the Magic wanted, in some cases, to have the product be white. So for us, the contract side of it was pretty minimal, but having an organization, especially one as close to us so that we could do real-time development, was the most important, and it was catalytic for us as an organization.
Oh, fantastic. So Jeff, the Orlando Magic can work with pretty much anyone they want to from around the globe. What are some of the benefits of working with a local company in the Orlando region?
Well, I think a lot of it is what Terry hit on. When the Magic look at partnerships across every levels, whether it's technology or not, we're looking at that true partner, someone we can work with to actually what I would call co-develop the product, or not look at it as a cookie cutter. This is what you have, this is how you implement it, but how can we work together to implement the best solution for our needs currently and going forward in the future. And so with Terry and the team, that local company, we get that advantage of just that, them being local. And as Terry mentioned, they can come in to our venue. We can do tests more rapidly than if it was somebody on the West Coast or up further on the East Coast. So tremendous value in dealing with the local company.
Good. So Terry, Violet Defense is kind of just a part of what you do. You're also a partner in a very successful venture firm, Kirinaga. In your opinion, what's one of the reasons that Orlando hasn't quite hit the scene as one of the major players in the country's tech community?
Yeah, I would say there's two things, and we're evolving through them. One is the community has been so successful in what it has done that in many cases, there's a little bit of, if it's working, why try to fix it? And so whether it's real estate investment or it's hospitality, right, the community has been extraordinarily successful there. And early stage venture investing, which is what we do a lot of, is a lot more risky. The outcomes are a lot less predictable. And so I think there's just an evolution that's happening in our marketplace where people are starting to understand the value of doing it is not just about the economic return, it's also about what it does for the communities, the vibrancy, and the distribution of your economy. So I think that just takes time. And then I think the second is when you look at the capital markets, the check that Orlando needs the most is singularly one of the hardest checks to get, and that's the pre-commercial company, but where the technology has been validated. And so we moved Kirinaga down here 5 years ago to open up our second office because we saw such an opportunity. Between all the universities and what happens on the Space Coast and what happens in places like the Magic and the Department of Defense, the ideas get validated with non-investor money probably better than almost any community I've seen, right? Whether that's government grants or it's university grants or it's corporate innovation. So we get to come in at a pretty unique spot. But I think that tranche of capital just hasn't fully formed yet. And so between having a really good, well-trod mechanism for investing coupled with the lack of risk capital, I think we have tons of opportunity, but we're not there yet.
Sure. And I want to say that I think this success with Violet Defense has really given you a larger platform. I mean, there's been some really exciting partnerships beyond the Orlando Magic. I believe you've been working on the New York subway system recently.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So that actually came about through one of the collaborations that also started here. So in addition to the Magic, one of the other things that we did is we put a unit out at the Witt home at Lake Nona. And that got us to get to know the people at Tavistock. They then had a conversation with the people at Siemens who came down to talk to us. And then Siemens connected us with one of their master distributors out of Colorado. So the New York Metro Transit Authority actually came through that distributor because they had relationships. And so the next thing you know, we're now, in New York City, right in the middle of the peak of the pandemic, working with them, trying to figure out how to make things safer, not only for the riders, but also for all the employees that are having to clean those every day. So again, the impetus of it actually started from a collaboration with another Orlando-based company called Tavistock.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Jeff, let's turn to you. Speaking on the topic of collaboration, you've recently joined the Tech Council. What was part of that decision to really take that next step to join the tech community and be engaged? And what are you looking to get out of this experience?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, the Tech Council and the tech community joining that just gives us insights into all that's happening in Orlando. We don't have the capacity ourselves to be connected with everybody. We just don't have the time in our day. So being part of this organization allows us to get connected to not only those companies that everyone's reading about, the Luminars, the Fat Merchants, the Violet Defenses, but some of these early stage companies that we may not be privy to. And so by being a part of this and all the connections that are made, it just gives us much more exposure. And again, we love to work with local companies for all the reasons I mentioned, for first mover advantage, to give them a local first customer. And, we just look to continue to explore this community and see what's available to us and how it can help us in any facet of our business.
Oh, well, thank you for being such a great community partner. We certainly appreciate it, and our community is better for it. So we're going to start to wrap up my section of this, and then we'll go to some question and answers with Joe. But first, I want to pose a question to both of you. And Terry, let's start with you first. What do you see for the future of Orlando Region's tech economy? And what do you think could help us reach that potential?
So I believe, and why I'm here and why my family's here after kind of returning 5 years ago, is that this is going to be a truly transformative tech community. And it's going to go in places that we can't even predict now. And what will take it there is an expanded connection in the way that Jeff was talking between the organizations who are here and these emerging technology companies. And it doesn't have to just be that there is a company that's looking for a large partner. It could also be the other way around, which is it's a large company looking for a solution. And so I envision over time that there's going to be more challenge prizes, and there's going to be more endeavors where corporations will hand their issues to universities to help figure out how to solve it, and then actually turn that into a company. And I think that's what becomes a real vibrant tech economy, is when you have both the customers sharing their problems and the technology companies sharing their solutions, and it goes in both directions. So I'm very excited about where it's going to be, because the breadth of ideas here are about as deep as any place I've seen. And the quality of what I call the first customer list here is about as deep as anywhere I've seen. So when you've got both of those together, it's just about getting them connected.
Oh, Terry, what an amazing answer. Jeff, what about you? What's our potential and how do we get there?
I think it's hard to follow up from Terry's answer because it was so good and so spot on. I mean, I think Terry hit it. I mean, for me, it's around open innovation, right? So it is us as a larger company sharing our problems with the community and letting businesses come to us with solutions rather than us trying to define the solutions internally. We've got a lot of smart people, but there is a lot more smart people in the community that we can leverage. So I just think this community is going to continue to grow. The story of Orlando is going to continue to be told. And I don't see any end to how this community will develop and how it'll benefit both the large companies and the small companies. I'm excited for the future here.
Oh, fantastic. So we're going to stay with me for a few more questions that have been coming in. Jeff, this first one's for you. How would you suggest large organizations like yourself really get involved and engage with the tech ecosystem so that they too can start to find all these great local partners?
Well, I mean, I think joining the Tech Council is a great way to do it. I mean, it's all about being connected. I mean, again, one of our early discoveries was that we had to look outside of the sports industry to find unique solutions. So again, I would stress, get connected through something like the Tech Council, look outside your industry for unique solutions. To me, those are some of the key things.
Great. Terry, this one's for you. beyond, I mean, you just talked about the New York subway system, but what are some of the more interesting partnerships that you've gained with Violet Defense recently?
So one of the really interesting deployments actually was from Singapore. So we had an airline that does private transportation that was looking for a solution. That ended up coming to us through Siemens, and now we're thinking about a very specific deployment for private planes. Public schools is another one. So we have a great partnership with an organization called Sodexo, and they've introduced us to some public schools where we can start thinking about, at that scale, right, how do we create both a commercial program that works for them, including things like leasing arrangements, which we would never have previously thought about, but also movable capital assets so that you don't have to outfit every single schoolroom, with our technology. So there's a series of those. We're talking with an organization that actually designs the interior for most of the large ships in the world, both commercial as well as military. And we were just awarded recently a project through the Defense Innovation Unit to start building a ruggedized version of our product for the United States Navy.
Oh, wow. So there's been no shortage of opportunity that has come about. Interesting. What about you, Jeff? What are some of the technologies that you guys see you're going to need to really dive into as we go forward?
That's a great question, especially with this whole COVID-19. So, I mean, I think across the board, it's more of the touchless interactions with our patrons, whether that's in food and beverage, whether that's ingress and egress. I mean, the technologies that can allow us to safely interact with our fans while keeping the interaction fun, I think are going to be critical to us as we move forward.
Great. So as we're wrapping it up, I want to give you both an opportunity. What are some final thoughts that you'd like to share with us? Jeff, you can kick us off.
My final thought is just kind of a recap. I mean, I think there's incredible opportunities within the Orlando community for companies to get connected to solve big, small, medium problems. And I think, again, the key is get connected, talk to your peers, understand what people are doing across industries, and be open to exploring with other companies what unique solutions there may be to your problems, or to problems you don't even know you have yet.
Exactly. And what a better place to be than Orlando to make sure that you've got resources to stay connected.
Absolutely.
What about you? What are some final thoughts today?
So I would say go explore a little bit. So one of the things that struck me, and I remember our first set of conversations, a number of years ago, is how little I think we collectively still know about what we have here in terms of our assets. So it took me a couple years to fully understand just the academic resources that are here. And being in Lake Nona, I don't spend enough time figuring out what's going on in Altamont. And if I'm in Winter Park, I may not spend enough time trying to figure out what's going on in Dr. Phillips. But as a metropolitan statistical area, there is a lot going on here. And I think the more people become aware of it, the more kind of the self-esteem challenge of the community will wane, because we have a lot going for us. And that's not a slogan to try to get us to feel better. It's an objective assessment when you compare us to other regions. I just don't think that we collectively know it enough. And so the big thing I would say to anyone who's trying to understand is just go explore a little bit. And I think what you're going to find is going to shock the hell out of you.
Yes, I absolutely adore that. Well, I cannot thank you both enough. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your consistent commitment to collaboration. I know this is an ongoing process with the two of you. So between Violet Defense and the Orlando Magic, we look forward to a lot more to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.